During the first 25 or so of his 80 years, Gary Rieck benefited from quite a spectrum of agricultural experiences. While growing up on the farm near Burlingame in Osage County, he raised sheep, helped with the crop farming, graduated from Kansas State University with degrees in animal husbandry and agronomy, 6 months as a hog buyer at the Kansas City stockyards, and starting his own hog operation back on the farm. Delores grew up on a farm near Walton in Harvey County. With her education degree from Emporia State University in pocket, she started her long teaching career in Burlingame. That's where she and Gary crossed paths. Today, although at a slower pace and with their son and daughter lending a hand, they still raise feeder cattle and soybeans on their 700-acre operation. Over the years, Gary has been an opportunist in his farming pursuits, much as his father was.
We bought our first piece of land in 1967, and I didn't have any money, so I had to buy the poorest piece of land that nobody wanted and then fix it up. And that's what we did for a number of years.
When you say fixed it up, through conservation measures?
Conservation, clean up, make it profitable. We've got numerous conservation awards for that type of work. And started no-till farming in 1967, and it wasn't even a word then. Yeah. And it worked so hardly ever worked any ground that went to milo. I worked the ground going to beans, but not to milo. Then in 92 went totally no-till, and I haven't touched anything other than terraces since then.
Well, Delores, talk about your start and then how you and Gary crossed paths.
Well, I grew up at Walton, Kansas, down around Newton, and my father farmed and my mother was a school teacher. And I have 2 sisters and a brother, and I was the oldest. And we lived on a farm. We had dairy cows and we had some crop ground. And it was stressed to go to college. And so when I graduated from Walton, I went to Emporia State. And I graduated from there, and I took a job at Burlingame, Kansas to teach business at the high school.
And that's
where I met Gary. He called me up and asked me out. Yeah. We were 26 when we got married.
So what did you think about marrying a farmer at that time?
Oh, he was exciting. And he, I knew he was the one. I just had to convince him.
You exited the hogs in 92, is that correct?
Yeah, right before the calamity and hogs went to $9. Bought Holstein heifers for a few years and run them, 100 to 150 of them when the agriculture really expanded in the 80s.
But we always look at is this going to, what's the prospects of making money, but what's the prospects of losing? And so you kind of weigh, and we talk it over. We do that, and so that we make a decision. And I did teach school for a number of years.
And you taught for how long?
25 years.
Okay. So.
And I taught first at Burlingame, and then 8 years, then I was about 25 years at Osage City. Yeah. I loved it.
Let's visit a bit, if we might, then about the state of the operation present day. You still run corn and soybeans primarily as your crops?
About 4 years ago, went strictly soybean because of the economics. Still run 400 acres of soybeans and about 100 acres in CRP, and then a couple hundred head of cattle. We're running around 400 cattle and 1,200 acres, 1,300 acres of land for 20-some years.
And you've jockeyed a combine for over 6 decades now, is that right?
Yeah, I've actually run a combine for 65 harvests, consecutive harvests.
Something about your off-the-farm activities, both involved in agriculture. A couple of the prime examples here. Gary, you were the president of what's called the Kansas Swine Seminar. Explain for those who don't know what that is.
Well, it's a deceased operation now, or organization, but back in the 70s and 80s, hogs was really the thing. It was producers in the state of Kansas, and I was the smallest producer, and I was selling about 1,200 hogs a year. But it was quite an experience and quite an organization. Very active in the Kansas Young Farmers organization. Both myself and wife each one was president of that organization at one time. And I've been going to extension meetings ever since, and I still do. I'm not too old to learn.
Are the two of you quite community involved here in the Burlingame area then?
Yeah, I was on the school board 16 years and the co-op board 9 years, and some extension meetings, and then farm management director for a period of time. And
Delores, presumably you do a few things locally
Yes,
too.
I help out at the church. They have a video system, so I do that. And then I taught quilt classes for probably 10, 15 years in the area. I taught on the state level, and then I made quilt presentations across eastern Kansas.
Let's talk briefly about your youngsters who aren't so young anymore. They're out on their own as professionals. And your son, George, is involved in agriculture. He's not here on the farm per se, but you say he is very active in the area of precision agricultural technology.
yes, he got a master's from K-State under Dr. Vanderlip in agronomy. Then he got a master's in civil engineering. And now he works for Premier Crop out of Des Moines, Iowa. He's responsible for last year 11,000 fields information getting back to farmers. Our daughter, she's always wanted to marry a rancher, not a cowboy. She married Josh Hoy, and they are on a ranch southwest of Strong City, and just loves it. They do agritourism and you name it, and Josh is a wonderful cook, and they take in cattle and got their own cows, and busy place, but they love it.
Well, lastly, you obviously have had a rich life on the farm, and you're still farming and going to keep going as long as possible. Is that
Yes.
the plan?
Yes.
That's the plan, as long as I'm capable and don't get in people's way. Why, that's my intent.
Gary and Delores Rieck, Kansas Master Farmer, Master Farm Homemaker, class of 2018.